Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Kataoka and you are watching Focal Length. Global markets are showing a strong rebound after days of sharp declines. Indices such as the Hang Seng, FTSE stocks, S&P and Nasdaq are gaining traction. This comes amid high volatility driven by trade uncertainties and shifting global policies. US President Donald Trump's tariff threats aimed at tech giant Apple and the European Union have sparked investor concerns. The China-US trade talks have stalled, forcing Washington to roll back some tariffs in a bid to stabilize markets. As economic pressures build, global trade flows are being redefined, with leaders scrambling to protect national interests amid an uncertain outlook. To discuss this, we are joined by Peter Cardillo, Chief Market Economist at Spartan Capital Securities, live from New York, United States. Peter is a veteran economist with over 50 years of industry experience and a regular voice on global business news platforms. Peter, after witnessing days of downward trends, global markets, Hang Seng, FTSE stocks, S&P and Nasdaq have picked up momentum. How would you explain this volatility?
Yeah, I just think it's a question of a lot of uncertainties, and obviously the uncertainties are tied to the tariffs, and so we're seeing lots of volatility in all the markets. And of course, when President Trump changes his mind for the better or for the worse, the markets respond accordingly.
How are Trump's tariff policies impacting global markets?
Well, they're impacting them, obviously, because it goes back to that one word that the markets don't like, and that is uncertainties. When you have a lot of uncertainties, traders and investors tend to be very cautious. And when you have cautiousness, then you have a lot of volatility, and that volatility can be either on the positive side or on the negative side, mostly but on the negative side.
The US markets have not reacted favorably to Trump's latest tariff threats on Apple as well as the EU. Is this volatility temporary?
Yeah, I think so. You know, this happened on last Friday, and look what's happening today in the markets, right? Trump basically rescinded the June 1st imposition of taxes on the EU, and he extended it to July the 9th. And so today the markets are basically regaining all of Friday's losses, and that's pretty much across the global spectrum.
How do you view the China-US trade truce talks? Why has Trump had to roll back the tariffs on Chinese goods?
Well, I think, there are talks that have already been started, and I think that eventually there will be some sort of an agreement that both nations will have to view as positive for each other's nation. I mean, that's what negotiations are all about. I don't think there's great risk in the negotiations falling apart because the risk for both countries and for the global economy are very precarious and could cause a serious recession, global recession. So I think, cool heads will prevail between the United States and between the Chinese negotiators.
French President Macron is in Southeast Asia to sign trade as well as defense pacts with Indonesia, Vietnam, as well as Singapore. What are the new avenues that EU is likely to explore in the wake of US tariffs on its goods? And what is this trend indicating?
Well, I think, look, everyone is going to try to make deals for themselves with other nations and try to be less dependent on the United States. That gives them, to a certain degree, the upper hand. And I think, Mr. Trump and his administration knows that. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing French President Macron going to Southeast Asia. But does that mean that they're not going to negotiate with the United States? Absolutely not. We are vital trading partners for them and vice versa. And so I just think it's another avenue which they explore, hoping to say, well, okay, if we don't get everything we want from the United States, maybe we'll have some sort of agreement with other nations that we can trade with.
US President during his recent trip to the Middle East secured defense as well as trade deals worth billions of dollars with Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar. Why is the West hinging towards Global South?
Well, I think, the Middle East represents a very strong financial background. That is, nations that are very wealthy, they have the money. President Trump knows this. He went there, he was able to get some nice deals, and now we just have to wait and see if they come to fruition. I would suspect that most of the Arab nations will agree to what they pledged for. And I think, obviously, if they do come to fruition, they will be quite positive, not only for the economy, but obviously for the various companies that these orders were signed off on.
How do you think China is going to ward off Western competition?
I think, they'll explore every avenue possible. As far as oil is concerned, they have been really absent from being big buyers. They have not been big buyers in the open market. They have been working closely with India. So there's a good possibility that might continue. But eventually, I think, they have to come back to the open market.
Thank you, Peter Cardillo, for joining us in this episode of Focal Length.